Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off today's video with a story about a guy who got sick of being bossed around by a fake manager and decided to drown her in a sea of folded pizza boxes. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. She barked orders like a manager. I folded boxes like a petty god. For some background, I used to work at a family-owned pizzeria in my hometown. At the time this story took place, I'd been delivering food for them as well as picking up the odd pizza oven shift for close to 8 years. Aside from the owner and 2 of our 3 managers, I was their longest tenured employee. Towards the end of my stint working there, I began to feel incredibly disrespected and undervalued by the owner as well as 2 of our managers. 2 of my regular 4 shifts per week were unfortunately shared with a manager who had started at that job before me, as well as the manager who'd started after me. Both of these managers had personal relationships with my boss, and neither of them actually managed anything. Scheduling our shifts was always up to the delivery drivers / waitresses / phone people amongst themselves. We didn't actually have anybody at this pizzeria that functioned as a real manager. Anyway, the manager that had started after me, we'll call her Karen for the sake of this story, had been rudely telling me to fold pizza boxes up for about 4 days in a row. For those of you who aren't aware, when pizza boxes are delivered from wholesalers to pizzerias, they come in stacks of 100, and they don't come folded. There are perforations along the box that make it easy to fold up, but they need to be made into boxes manually. At my pizzeria, it was the delivery people's job to fold the pizza boxes. Anyway, Karen had been rudely ordering me to fold up the pizza boxes for a few days in a row, not once actually asking or saying please. By the 4th day of this, I was fed up with being disrespected by someone who had been working there less time than I had under an imaginary title that didn't even reflect her job duties. Our seating layout consisted of 2 booths that would seat 2 people, so 4 in total, per table. We had 1 table in the back that only had 1 booth that nobody used, and 1 large double table with a cornered booth that could fit a party of 10. The delivery guys would sit in the big booth in the back and use the double table to fold up the pizza boxes, unless there was a party larger than 4 people that needed the booth. So when Karen rudely ordered me to fold up boxes for the 4th day in a row, I hatched a plan. I told my delivery partner, I'm going to make so many boxes that they'll never ask me to make boxes again. And I did just that. I folded up enough 12-inch pizza boxes to fill the entire cornered booth in the back. That wasn't enough, though, because when I took the boxes from the booth to the shelf where we stored them in the back room, I had space to make more boxes, so I filled the entire booth again. That wasn't enough either, because I stored the boxes that were in the booth on the 1 table that no customers used. Naturally, since there was more room on the large booth, I filled it up with boxes for a 3rd time, making sure there was no room for any customers to sit. Of course, since my oblivious and unobservant manager didn't notice that I was doing this, apparently she noticed any time I wasn't folding up boxes, I began storing the boxes on top of the table. I managed to cover one of the 2 tables in the back with 9 stacks of boxes before Karen noticed what I was doing and told me to stop. In my defense, I stopped folding boxes as soon as Karen told me to. Granted, by the time she had noticed what I was doing, there was nowhere for large parties to sit, nowhere else to put the pizza boxes. I lamented the fact that Karen would rather see me come into work and do what was expected of me instead of going above and beyond, and she told me to stop being a smartass. This constant disrespect and underappreciation is what eventually led me to take my talents to another local pizzeria, whose owners actually appreciated the work I did. I hope you didn't get too many cardboard cuts from doing that. Those hurt completely out of proportion to their size. And our second story. Want to ride the roller coaster, but won't let me do my job. This was many years ago when I worked at a theme park in northern Idaho. I was working on one of the roller coasters. My job was to verify people were secured, and while the coaster was out, to verify the next group was eligible to ride. Basically tall enough, physically healthy, and properly attired. The height rules were 42 inches, 106 centimeters, to ride with an adult, or 48 inches, 122 centimeters, alone. I'd been doing it for 2 summers and knew before I even used the height stick if they were going to be close or good to go. I still had to check everyone that was close because my boss liked to lurk in the shadows and would fire me if I didn't check. The stick was made out of wood, so it had quite a bit of flex to it. As long as the kids didn't look scared crapless and I could flex the stick enough, they were going to ride. I'm going about my Groundhog's Day of checking seatbelts and restraint bars, then check to see if everyone is good to ride. Up next is Angry Dad and Little Daughter. I can tell she's just a little too short to meet the 42-inch requirement. I walk up to them with the stick. I could tell that Angry Dad was annoyed immediately. The conversation went something like this. Me: "Sir, I have to measure your daughter to make sure she's tall enough to ride." AD: "I've already checked and she is tall enough." Me: "Sir, I have to. It's park policy." AD: "No, I already checked and she's tall enough." It went back and forth like this for the whole 2 minutes the coaster was out. Me: "Sir, I can't let you ride if I don't check." AD: "Fine." He angrily steps out of the way of his daughter so I could check her height. Sure enough, without me bending the stick, she was just a hair too short. Seriously, it was touching her hair. If the dad had not been a jerk and let me do my job, still would have let her ride with that. Me: "I'm sorry, sir, your daughter's too short to ride. You can have her stand over here while you ride if you'd like." He stormed away without saying a word. That's where I thought this would end. I was wrong. 30 minutes later, AD and Little Daughter come back, but this time he's smiling and looking at me like I'm a stupid carny. So I walk up to him and give him the exact same line as before. Me: "Sir, I have to measure your daughter to make sure she's tall enough to ride." He steps out of the way with no issues. I check her height, and the stick touches her head this time. I look down to make sure she has her feet flat on the floor, and she's wearing a large pair of shoes over top of hers. Me: "Sir, she's tall enough to ride with an adult. Does she have an adult to ride with?" AD: "She's going to ride with me." Me: "I'm sorry, sir, you cannot ride without shoes on." It was at that point AD was about to punch me. He turned red and balled up his fists. Either he realized he'd get arrested for punching me, or that I had a 48-inch stick in my hand. So he walked away with only making a few remarks under his breath. How do parents not see that if their child is too short for a ride, they may be thrown from it when it's in motion? Like, did they not use baby seats and boosters when this kid was really young? And our next story. $800 car turns into $4,000 in tickets. This has been a favorite story among my friend group over the last few years, so I figured I'd share it here. From 2018 to 2022, I, 25-year-old male, was consistently broke pizza delivery guy. My common method for vehicles was to buy cars for $1,000, do minor repairs, and drive them for 3 to 6 months until they exploded. I'd make 10x on the car and would wash, repeat. Did this probably 7 or 8 times over the years. The only time I ever got burned was buying a '98 Civic Coupe. I remember I was a little extra broke but needed a car for work that week, and Civics and Corollas are the easiest and cheapest for me to work on. I texted him and drove to Felony Flats in Portland, red flag number 1, and was greeted by a man with a gold grill, red flag number 2, who didn't speak much English, which wasn't helped by my poor Spanish. The car itself was pretty beat up cosmetically, but ran perfectly, so I gave him the $800 and headed for work. This is where the effery begins. The next day, I head to the DOL to register the car, only to realize that the title was voided due to the car being in a wreck, so I wouldn't be able to register till I got a proper title. Annoying, but I figured he made an innocent mistake. I call him and leave a message saying there's issues with the title, and he doesn't respond. I call 100+ times over the next 2 weeks to get it figured out, but he keeps ignoring me, and at this point I figure I've been had. I move the car to the public street to deal with another day. One morning I come out to find tickets for no registration and no insurance left on the car, $150 to $200 between the two, and a tow warning. At first I was enraged until it dawned on me that the car wasn't in my name and those tickets weren't mine to deal with. So I made a plan. Every few days the car would get reticketed and tagged for towing. I'd come out, place the tickets on the driver's seat, move the car by a few feet, and erase the tow warnings. After 2-ish months, I'd racked up about $2,000 in tickets on this car not in my name. One day, I get a frantic call from, who you'd guess, the man who sold me the car, who also miraculously learned perfect English, telling me he was getting calls from the city and begging me not to let them tow it. I think at this point he realized what I was doing and that he would get me the title that week. And that the delay was because he and his wife were in a nasty divorce and she had the current title. I simply responded, "What car?" and hung up on him. As I was leaving my apartment, I saw the cops there ready to load it onto the tow truck and decided to let it go in case the former owner came looking for it. Ultimately, I never got my $800 back, but he got $4,000 in tickets because they were 30-plus days unpaid, a $1,000 tow bill, and if the story about his divorce was true, a super PO'd ex-wife because the car was still in her name too. Can't put a price on that. My only regret was not driving it to an empty parking lot and leaving it in a handicapped spot, but didn't want to risk being seen on cameras. And our last story. My boyfriend is a police officer. We live quietly in a small suburb somewhere in California. My garage is a real gem by American standards, a 3-car cover with one side attached to the house wall and the other to the fence. It has a roof, roll-up doors at the front, which I close maybe once a year, and even then by accident, and a back wall with foldable panels so you can drive straight into the backyard. Perfect for me. But as it turned out, also perfect for Karen. Karen lives 3 houses down and is famous for belching out swear words faster than most people can say good morning. Blonde with roots that have been screaming, "Die me," for 2 months, glasses with lenses the size of satellite dishes, and a brand new electric car she guards like it's made of solid gold. Saturday morning, I walk out of the kitchen with my coffee, glance out the window, and there's a Tesla in my garage. My car's shoved to the side and the cord from my 220-volt outlet's running to her car. And there stands Karen, hands on her hips like she just won Miss Audacity USA. Me. "Karen, what the actual hell are you doing in my garage?" Karen. "I'm charging my damn car, obviously, and you're welcome, by the way." Me. "You're welcome. This is my private garage." Karen. "Oh, give me a effing break. You never close your effing door, so that means it's public access. That's how America works, sweetie." She said this, took a deep gulp of coffee from her massive Starbucks cup, and made a noise like a clogged drain. Then came the first burp, so loud my cat jumped on the windowsill. Me. "Did you just—" Karen. "Yeah, I effing burp. You got a problem with my digestion too?" Burp. "Deal with it." I try to explain it's private property, but she goes full bulldozer mode. Karen. "If you unplug my effing car, I'm calling the cops. This is effing theft of electricity prevention law," or some crap like that. Me. "Karen, that's not a law. You just made that up." Karen. "Oh, shut your effing face. I'm friends with half the effing city council." That's when I made my move. I pull out my phone and call my boyfriend. He's a cop. To say he's not a fan of Karen is putting it mildly. Once she tried to complain to the police that his patrol car was intimidating her poodle. 8 minutes later, I hear the familiar sound of a police siren, and my boyfriend pulls up in uniform. He steps out, takes off his sunglasses, and gives Karen such a calm look that she actually shuts up for a moment. Boyfriend. "Karen, charging your car in someone else's garage again?" Karen. "Again? That's an effing lie. This is my community right." Boyfriend. "Community right to what? Trespass and steal electricity?" Karen. "It's not stealing if the effing door is open." My boyfriend calmly walks over, unplugs her car, and drops the plug at her feet. Boyfriend. "Now you have about 30 seconds to drive your car out before I tow it." Karen. "Tow it? You wouldn't dare. You effing tyrant." She tries to start the car quickly, but panics, hits the wrong button, and turns on her hazard lights instead. We watch her yell at her screen like it owes her money. Finally, the car moves. But to turn around, she forgets about the open back wall of my garage and almost drives straight into my backyard. Me. "Nice driving, Karen." Karen. "F you both." She disappears around the corner, leaving behind the smell of ozone, coffee, and defeat. And now I keep my garage doors closed. Not because I'm afraid someone will sneak in, but to avoid another episode of Karen's Charging Station. With Karen's, it's not logic that works best, but a police officer with the letter of the law behind them. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.